This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams of.
And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living. Welcome to Our Rough Draft.
Welcome.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yay. So recording the anniversary edition of Our Rough Draft, 25 years married as of tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah. Big 2-5 silver anniversary.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. Which is appropriate for the color of my facial hair.
My hair. Fair enough. I guess that's how you get hair.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. So you're taking the day off. I'm taking part of the day off. This is my last week of school, so I can't really take off. But as soon as class is over, we will go celebrate with a fun anniversary lunch.
A good lunch. Yeah, it'll be good.
And then head to volleyball because
we're parents.
We are parents. Welcome to the anniversary edition of Our Rough Draft.
Indeed.
Finley is my microphone stand.
Your anchor.
So for today, let's jump in with gratitude. What are you grateful for this week? What was something that you noticed on your drive?
Well, traffic was good today, so I'm grateful for that small moment. What else? It's early in the week still. I feel like we normally do these at the end of the week, so I have a chance to build up some gratitude, but I don't know, probably just that. It's been an easy week so far.
Okay. Sounds good.
Grateful for the time that we spent yesterday.
Yeah, we had a spa day. That was pretty great.
That's right. Yeah.
Love that. We love our massages and our sitting by the pool. Grateful for the weather right now.
Yeah.
It's in the 80s right now. It's supposed to be for the next 15 days at least that way.
Yeah. Beautiful weather.
Yeah, that's really, Arizona people like it when it's in the 80s in late April.
Indeed. Yeah.
Because when it hits 100 by the 1st of May, you're in trouble. But we had 100-degree weather in March, which
a stretch there for a few days of hundreds.
Yeah, which was not fun. So it's good that the weather is good right now. The topic that I want to get in today is let's talk about the wedding. Let's talk about the marriage, all of that. Yeah. So I had asked you earlier in the week, kind of prime the pump with what was your favorite moment from our wedding. Do you have an answer for that now?
Well, I had an answer before.
You had a variety of answers.
I have to pick just one, then I would say the moment by the lake.
So tell the story.
Getting there. So the moment by the lake, we had an amazing photographer who just did a wonderful job. Like I felt capturing not just the posed moments, the staged moments, but the spontaneous moments as well. So we left the wedding, went down to the lake house, as we called it, the tiny little apartment that we were living in right on Lake Washington in Seattle. And this apartment was an old mansion right on the lake that had been converted and had a great kind of lawn out back that went right down to the lake, had a dock. And so we snuck down there, got a picture on the dock, a couple of pictures on the dock, like staged pictures. And then as we were walking back up the lawn to then get back in the car and go to the reception, we saw our neighbors, Eric and Maureen, who we were friends with, and they were out on their balcony and they were all excited to see us and they were clapping and we waved at them, and Aaron just caught that moment of us both looking up at them and the smiles, the genuine smiles on our faces. And it was just this candid moment that I think was, I don't know, it was just right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was fun to be there in our environment and to see our friends. And so that was I thought, a good moment.
Yeah, we were in a English cab.
Yeah, old English cab.
With a driver and an umbrella because it had started to rain just a little bit as we got to the lake house, and we went for a drive through the Arboretum. I think my favorite moment was right before that when we had finished the ceremony and we were walking out to get into that car. And I remember it was Kendall and Scotland were outside. I'm sure Scotty was little and Taylor was a flower girl, and Kendall had taken Scotty outside because it's a wedding and little kids get bored. Just coming out, we were so excited. We had just walked down the aisle. Everybody's clapping and cheering and all that. And we walk outside and just the genuine smile from Kendall and how happy he was for us. And Aaron caught that as well in that moment. And then, of course, you with all the romantical things, like get in this little old cab and drive off. And there's a freaking card in the cab for me. Like, and then for this anniversary, I'm so excited because new album came out by No Con. And so we're headed to volleyball last week. And I was like, I'll take my earbuds and you can listen to one and I'll listen to the other. And you're like, well, how about this playlist? And you made me a freaking playlist for our anniversary. Like, what on earth?
I made you a mixtape.
A mixtape. It's the best.
A new school mixtape with digital files instead of having to sit there and press stop and record and catch it at just the right moment. And man, those were a lot of work.
They were, but you did a great job doing one for this time around too.
Thanks.
So that's pretty fun. So that was we talk about it all the time about how much we loved our wedding. That whole day was pretty miraculous. All week was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, agreed. I think it was just it was great. I mean, and it has been for 25 years. Not always great. I mean, it's a marriage and it's a relationship, but.
So I was going to ask that, like, what do you think along the way, hardest and best times in our marriage?
I don't know. I kind of feel like we're entering into the best times. Like we've had some really good times, but I also feel like, and it's odd because we have 2 kids out of the house and one who's a year and change away from being out of the house. And so I think that we're about to hit a transition period where it comes back to just being the 2 of us in the house. Obviously not in the family, but, you know, I think that we're heading into a really great time where we get to spend quality time with each other and we get to do things. And not that we haven't before. I think there's some amazing moments. Like I think about right after we got married and when we were having Thatcher, just getting ready to have Thatcher, and the house in Duval was being built, and we used to drive out there and check the progress on it. And, they got the walls up today, or, they closed it in, So I think it was fun to be newly married with a new kid in a new house. And it was like literally it was the start of everything. It was like we were at the starting line. And I think that was a really good time. And I think then also, I think about some of the things that people would maybe classify as being bad times were still good times for us, like the deployments. And when I think about, we've talked about it before, but, being in San Francisco and getting the alert for that first deployment, and, we were surrounded by this event that was going on that you were putting on and all of the stuff that came along with that. And yet, we were able to pull together as the 2 of us and really support each other and lean on each other during that time that, again, I think a lot of people would say is, that must have been horrible. Well, yeah, it's not good, but the way that we got through those things was together. And so I think those are some of our good times as well. And because I'm sure you want me to pick just one, but I'm not going to. So those are all my answers, and probably many more.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Well, I just think about when we tell really specific stories that we can kind of recapture those moments. And so I love, yes, the generality of all that. And I do think that we've had more good times than bad. But I try, or I'm trying to right now, really narrow in on like specific moments that felt awesome. Like when I felt like that to me is what marriage is. And so as I say that out loud, I didn't prep one, of course, but to think about that, and maybe it is the first return from deployment. We have that picture that Lisa took at the Armory. Is that where you came back to? Was an Armory?
No, it was Fort Lewis.
Okay. Some gym kind of situation?
Yeah, some welcome center thing. I don't know.
And you guys all had to line up and you're coming back in, and Lisa was there and she was able to capture that picture. So we have it, but it was in that moment of, I've got a little kid, I've got 2 little kids, and I think it would have been really easy to put them first and let them see you first and do all of those things. But we didn't. Like, it was us. Like, how do we come back to us? And I think that was really kind of telling for how the relationship was going to go. But I also think about some of the stories that go with some of the songs you put on the mixtape. So tell me a story about one of the songs.
There is, I think, a special place in my heart, and I think in your heart too, for You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon. And, I'm sure everybody knows that it's a fairly old song, very old at this point, I guess you could say. But somehow it was like the start of us singing in the car when it would come on the radio. I think we had a CD of it that we would play every once in a while. Like, it was just one of those things. And for some reason, we would always find ourselves on the road. And I just started acting out different parts of the song. And so I think it was just us being goofy in the car. Mm. The way that it made you smile or the way that it made you laugh made me happy. And so I just kept doing it to, just see that part of you. And so that's why it's the first song in the mixtape, is because I think it, it's not just a song, but it was a moment, to your point, one of those moments. There's other songs on there that represent, concerts that you put on when you were at T-Mobile and, bands that you saw or bands that we've seen together. There's one of the songs from the Hamilton soundtrack, because we recently went back to New York in fall, and saw Hamilton because it was the return of Leslie Odom Jr. to the cast for a limited run. And so we made a bucket list come true of being able to see him in Hamilton on Broadway, which was huge and just a great moment for us. And so that's one of them. Yeah.
I think music has been a big part of who we are.
There's a Pearl Jam song on there because we saw one of the home shows, or we caught, 1/10 of one of the home shows, because then we had to go pick our kids up from the airport. So interrupted our Pearl Jam experience to go down to the airport and pick the kids up because they were flying alone.
Their flight was late.
We could have seen 2/10 of the show, maybe. I don't know, but
yeah. But okay, so what about hard moments? What's a time, and I'll start because I'm asking the question, but I can answer as well. Like a time in the marriage where you felt like, holy shit, like I have to do this for another rest of my life.
Mm. Yeah,
I think that it is when we have other hard things going on. And so it isn't about us. I don't know. Mine is not when it's about us. It's about when one or the other of us has a hard time at work, hard time with family, and we are just stretched to a point where we can't give what we want in the relationship. And so I think for me, it was when we were finishing up our time in Wenatchee and you were just miserable. We had moved over there so you would feel better. And I feel like we got there to some degree, and then you deployed again, and then work sucked and there was just no upside. And so made the decision that I was leaving, and we have to figure that out. And it sucked because the boys and I went to Seattle and you went to Spokane. And it wasn't because we didn't want to be together, but that was where the jobs were available. I think through that hard time, we realized how much we wanted to be together and what we would do to make that happen. But it almost felt visceral survival, like I have to go now for all of us to make it long term.
Yeah. That's funny because when you asked the question, you kind of stole my answer, but that was one of the first things that came to mind and I think you put it really well, which is I don't know how I would classify it, but it is different when it's one of us struggling, and it's a situation where it's difficult to provide the level of support that the other person needs. And I think there is times like that. I think for me, it's probably been things like IVE, and how do I provide the right level of support to you in a difficult time and still be, a father, a coworker, the other things.
Right.
Like how do you show up for this other person in a way that the other person needs? Because I think that's the important part is I can show up for you in a million different ways, but which of those ways do you need in that moment? And am I prepared to provide that for you? And I think by and large, we've come to know each other well enough to know what we need in moments like that. But I think those were earlier times for us where maybe we were still trying to figure it out.
Well, and I think that individually we were trying to figure it out, right? So I think about IBE, Issaquah Valley Elementary, where I was unceremoniously asked to leave, but not fired.
No.
Please make up a story and leave.
Yeah.
It's me, it's you. I don't know, whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
But they asked me to make up a story about I wanted to stay home with my family or work closer to home.
Yeah.
But they just didn't want me to stay in that building. And I was devastated.
Yeah.
It was, I think, the lowest I've ever felt. And for me, there was so much that I had to learn about myself, about rejection, about not wanting to be accepted for who I was, right? I went into some dark places around like even my childhood and being like abandoned that way, right? Like that, all that came back up. And so navigating that for myself and then having somebody willing to support, but not knowing what I needed, like in there, and there was the initial trauma and then the long term, like, what do we do with this kind of situation? Yeah. I mean, I think it's really easy for people to go in separate directions.
Yeah.
Because I'm still trying to figure out my stuff and I can't help you figure out my stuff for me.
Right.
So you either needed to decide to be patient or figure it out in your own way. But we are typically so good together, but it couldn't be that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those were tough times for the family, but tough times for us as individuals as well.
Yeah. What about raising teenagers?
I think that raising teenagers is inherently hard.
But between us, like, do you feel like there were times when my parenting of them pissed you off to the point where it wasn't good or vice versa?
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure, I mean, I won't put words in your mouth, but I'm sure the same. I can't think of individual situations. Like if you're going to ask for dates and times, I can't give you that. But I think that, yeah, I think there were times where, and there probably still are with.
Yeah, there was one this week.
Yeah, what was it?
Sometimes my children, all three of them, although I love them dearly, do not think I have anything smart to say. Like, and I don't know, like sometimes they really like me and we can have great conversations and I come with a lot of really good, useful information. And then there are days when they're like, shut up. And they don't say it, but their face and their tone does. And typically we navigate that and I'll say something and then later I'll be like, why didn't you say anything? And I get all pissy with you when I'm just pissy. So this week it was starting, we were out to dinner and like he said like two things that were kind of snippy and you said something to him and I like internally was so conflicted. Because I was like, well, he's saying something because I've told him to say something. And then I was like, but I don't want Mason to be mad at him. Like, he can just stay mad at me. Like, I don't want him to be mad at both of us. And I don't want him to not like Tim. Like, so I was just in this weird, like, that was a conflicted place. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just so interesting because I didn't have two parents who were married. I had divorced parents from the time I remember. And then I had step parents. And when I was a teenager, it was very much, you are not my dad. You do not get to tell me what to do. And so my mom was always the parent who had to set the boundaries, set the rules, have the conversations. So it was always my mom and I. And so the fact that there's two of us doing it is new for me. Still new, even though we have a 24-year-old. Like I'm still figuring it out because it's not my experience.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, I don't think it's just been about teenagers. I just think raising kids as two people is difficult. I mean, and I'm sure, and I have no experience what it's like raising kids alone, so I can't compare. But for us, I think raising kids has been an interesting journey of discovery about our relationship. And to your point, like the conflicted nature of, I want you to step in and help me here, give me some support. but then I don't want you to step in a way that makes the kids feel bad or whatever. Like I can't tell you the number of times where like something has happened, and then I'll step in and I'll be like, yeah, and whatever. And I'm not loud and abusive, but I'll step in, and I think I typically play a heavier hand than you do. And then all of a sudden you're looking at me like, what the fuck did you just do? And I'm like, I thought we were on the same page on this. I thought this was the nuclear option. I thought I was supposed to say blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, you were, I don't know.
Well, because I think people would think that I am much more strict or definitive or something than I am as a parent. Because I'm none of those things. I am soft. I'm squishy. I am lack of boundaries sometimes. I'm like, no, it's all okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's been a tough time. I mean, I think some of our biggest arguments / fights have come after things like that. Like there's something that we need to talk about, with the kids, and we talk about it, and all of a sudden, like, we're at it. And
Mason said the other day, he goes, why do I have to still put my phone in your room at night? And I was like, 'cause that's what we do. And then I was like, no, we just needed that rule. Like, I don't know. Do other people do that? Do people not do that? Should we stop doing it? And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
don't overthink it.
That's the rule.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, I think too much about things.
Can I ask a question about our marriage?
Yes, please.
What's one of the biggest things that you've learned in our marriage?
I have two.
Oh, you're an overachiever.
I am. It's true. One, like there was this idea of like, I don't know if it's advice or whatever, of like, don't go to bed angry. And I don't know if I believe it, because sometimes like you just need to go to bed. And like, you can't solve everything. Like everything isn't solvable within one day. And sometimes you just have to go to bed uneasy and trust that you're going to figure it out the next day. But everything can't be solved in one day. So I think I've learned that, and I trust that. And the other thing I've learned that was really hard for me because of how I grew up. But you are my biggest fan. Like, hard stop. Like, even when I feel like I've said the wrong thing, done the wrong thing, shown up the wrong way, asked for too much, whatever, like, there isn't too much because you're my biggest fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to be there for it. It's like that unconditional piece is really actually unconditional.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
How about for you?
I have 3 things.
Whoa.
I'm going to one up you.
So you could have asked, what are your 3? But okay.
But I mean, it's good that there's more than one, right?
Right.
This is going to sound weird, but I learned how you like to argue or fight. And it took me a long time, because I think in some of our biggest arguments, you get to a point, and I can't always see it coming. I think I'm getting better about it, but you get to a point where you just need to walk away. Either we've been going around and around on the same exact thing, and we're not making any progress, or it's just getting super emotional and you just need to walk away. And early on, I'd be like, because to me, what I saw that as is I'm just not going to deal with it. And so that to me was a negative. Like, we have to deal with these big things, because if we don't, they just become bigger things, or like you have to solve problems, or like I just had this kind of black and white look at it in my head of, you can't let something like this go. And so I would pursue the conversation, pursue the topic, and it would just push you even further. And I finally realized, like, that's not it. It's not avoiding the topic. It's needing to take a break and regain some energy to have the conversation, or to bring the energy down, or whatever it might be. And so when that happens, I mean, it doesn't make me happy. And I'm not like, yeah, you're right, we should take a break. What a smart decision on your part. But at least I know not to just keep pushing and hammering or following you into the bedroom to continue the conversation. The other thing is learning how to be loved. And we had this conversation the other day, but I really have been thinking about it a lot in light of the silver anniversary, and learning what love looks like in a relationship. And I think that I think 25 years later, we're still us and we're still strong in our relationship because I think we've figured that out for the other person. And I think it's, it's the big things. It's the card in the all the kind of more traditional ways. But like we've talked before, I bring you coffee a lot of days in bed, or just make your coffee when I hear you get up. Like, that's an expression of love in my mind that I'm giving to you. And, so it doesn't have to be these big moments. It has to be like, how do you want to receive love? And is the way that you want to receive love a way that I'm prepared to give love? And I think the strong relationships have a really good match there, where it's either something that we've figured out or it just happens naturally to mesh. But I think that's the important connection.
Yeah. And we've talked about it. We've done a couple different marriage retreats. We love the Gottmans, and we've been to the Oaks over in San Diego. Like, those are important pieces for us. We try and get away. We try and really work on our relationship and not just like let it evolve naturally, but like really lean into different pieces. And there's times when, like, I think we'll both feel a little bit disconnected, that we lean into some of those little things. So if it's been a busy week at work and it's a Saturday and you're like, I'm going to Ace, I'm like, there's not a single piece of my humanity that wants to leave the house. And I'm going to go put my shoes on and go to Ace with you, because that's how I show you that I love you. Yeah.
Because you sure as shit don't need anything from Ace. It's not like, hey, I could really use a new saw blade.
Right.
Like, it's the time. It's and again, it's such a little thing. Ace is 5 minutes from our house. And it could be like going there to pick up a couple of bolts because I want to do something.
Right.
But it's not about that. It's just that moment and that gesture.
Yeah. What's your third?
I forgot. I don't know.
Okay. Well, maybe it'll come back.
Maybe. I hope so.
We're super old. God bless us.
I'm just impressed that I could remember too.
Right. Somebody at the spa. It was not somebody. It was the person sitting under my chair.
It was horrible.
So the spa we like to go to, you have your massage or your treatment or whatever, and then you can spend the whole rest of the day at the pool. And we like to do that. We have this place we like to sit. We have the server that we like all the things. And I came out from my massage and there was this woman like basically sitting like under my chair. Her drink and her phone were in the shadow of my chair.
Yeah.
There was
sitting
so
on the edge
much
of
space.
Sitting on the edge of the pool, like, well, not just like sitting on the concrete under your chair, but
like so close.
Yeah.
And so like I was laying down, I was trying to relax, but like their voices were like in my ears and I couldn't not hear their conversation. But somebody was talking about a 60th anniversary and how I think the partner is no longer here. And so they were celebrating the 60th anniversary, which that's a whole thing that I can talk about, but not going to right this minute. And I was like, 60 years? We got married when we were 30. I mean, it's a little different if you get married when you're like 20. We're going to be really old when we get to our 60th. So that's why we're celebrating 25 in a big way.
And that's why we're recording these podcasts, so we remember stuff. Old and we can't.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to continue the conversation we were having earlier today about belonging and service. So one of the things that I was really investigating today was this kind of continuum of self-connection, belonging, and mattering. And end of the semester, so I'm wrapping up my papers, putting everything together so I'm ready when next semester hits, and I'm working on my research. And I was thinking about this idea of service and how important it is to both of us, and how I matter. How I feel like I matter in places is when I am of service. And I don't feel like that right now in my job. And like that's missing right now. For so many years, it was only 7 seconds. So I could fulfill it with that. It's our kids. But I feel like that's missing right now for me.
How does that make you feel?
Like I need to figure it out. Like I need to figure out where I can find that. I know that I'm of service when I am helping future teachers learn how to be teachers. Like I get that. And it is in a power dynamic of professor and student. So it doesn't always feel like service. Much like when I was principal, I like, as my heart, like I want to help people serve kids better. And so that was always the stance I wanted to take with teachers. Like, how can I help you help kids? Well, as we know, not everyone likes that.
The answer was, you can't.
You must
You
go
won't.
away. Because there are many teachers who did embrace that and thought that was great. And there was a group of teachers who didn't trust it. Those same people are future teachers who are 18-year-olds learning to be teachers, and they don't trust it. And that has to do with their own historical baggage and whatnot. But I can't fix that for them. And so for me, that service looks like, I think, coming in a different stance of not that power dynamic. Unfortunately, higher ed doesn't love that. Like, there's definitely, is much like the military, time and position, time and role, then you can get promoted, and then you can give, and then you can do this next thing. And you're very limited before that. And so my research is service, but it's also super narrow, and nobody's really looking for it right now. So yeah, so I feel like it has to be outside of what I'm currently doing. And so I'm going to keep trying to play with that and figure that out.
I think that's really insightful. And I think it's interesting because I don't think I ever would have made the connection between being of service, being affected by a power dynamic. But that's absolutely true. Like it can be perceived one way or another, or multiple ways, when there's a power dynamic involved. And I think that in and of itself might be a great reason for the motherhood. And some of the work that you've been trying to do around belonging and trying to work with people that are not within a power dynamic relationship with you. So it's, hey, I've got this to offer, and I'd love to offer it to people who are like me and going through transitions or struggling with belonging. So I think that there's a really interesting thing there. Because, I think the other relationships or the other situations where you have been of service have been that power dynamic.
Yeah.
Whether it's been teacher to kids, principal to teacher, professor to students.
Yeah.
And I think it's natural that you would find those situations as a way to meet your need for service, because that truly is service. But you're more of a, I want to come alongside you type of servant versus an authority. That power dynamic doesn't serve the way that you want to serve. And I think that's why people don't trust it, because I can't trust that a leader or an authority figure or a power figure has my best interests in mind, or is truly honest in what they're saying and what they're doing. Yeah. Like, there's a power dynamic is too much for them. Whereas other people, they don't see the power dynamic. They see the service first. And there might be a power dynamic there, but I'm gratified by what I'm getting from this person, regardless of whether that exists.
I did a couple of weeks ago with one of my students who is in a leadership role himself, and asked me to come to the Honors College out at the West Campus and lead a conversation, and asked if I would do it. And I was like, I would love to. And so I did. We met on it, and I came and I did it, and it went great. And he was grateful. And like, that was it. And I was there to fulfill what he wanted to do, his vision. It wasn't my vision. I kept checking in to make sure that it was right on the right path for what he envisioned. And I think it was. And I left there feeling so good, because I got to do something that somebody else had seen as a need that I could, with my skill set, help to fulfill. Yeah. And I always want that. And we talk about it, I have a big need for validation, but I do need people to see what I have to offer and be like, can you do this over here? And I would love to do that.
Well, that also speaks to something that you place a lot of importance on, which is people giving you specifics about the way that you can help.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than saying, let me know if you need any help. No, how about you say, I need, or I can give you this, or you can come to me and say, I need this, but then there's clarity in the situation. Like, it's just so much more effective in that environment.
Yeah. So when I was talking about service earlier, it struck a chord with you as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, service is important also. And I love being of service. And I think some of my happiest moments professionally have been when I've been a facilitator, or I've been in a position where I could help people figure out problems, or I could help guide people. So I think those were the moments where I felt really of service, or I was being of service to somebody. And I don't necessarily see that in my role right now, but I think that what I realized about my sense of service, I'm trying to remember the exact term I used. I think what I realized about my sense of service, or my need for service, is that it's about guiding. It's about being a mentor. It's about helping people figure out problems. Like, that's the way that I want to serve them. And so I think that looking at environments, or looking at situations, looking at jobs, looking at whatever it is with that lens helps me understand, am I being of service right now? Or is this meeting my need for service? And if I don't find it in one environment, can I find it someplace else and do it some other way?
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And I even, back to what you were saying about, for me, around the motherhood, like this idea of helping people tell their stories better or be in community better. I love that. And I'm also an introvert who needs the time to focus and recharge and be able to show up as the best version of myself in those situations. And so there is a balance there, because I think in earlier iterations of ourselves, we would do anything to fill that need for service. And I don't think I'm the same way anymore. I think I'm more discerning of, this will fulfill service and I won't be burned out. And so that's a fit. So then I can do it. Or this will burn me out, but it's limited. So I can do it for that limited window. And then I will build in that time to recharge.
I think that's a really great observation, because people, I think, sometimes place so much importance on this legend of selfless service. And it's, I think, seen as the pinnacle of service, being selfless about your service. And I don't disagree, and I don't want to discount that, but I think that it can be misconstrued as I am not being selfish. And sometimes you have to be selfish in order to then be of service, like exactly what you're pointing out. I can't be of service to somebody else, to you, to the family, to coworkers, to whoever, if I'm completely empty.
Right.
If I'm just no energy, no whatever the case is. I have to be selfish at some points to be able to recharge that. I have to be selfish with, kind of getting some of that back in order to then be of service and to give that. Yeah. So don't confuse selfless service, i.e. the motivation behind the service, with not being selfish.
Right. Yeah. And self-care, probably in a lot of ways, people can categorize it as selfish, and it's essential. We think of selfishness as a negative, and it is fundamental, core, authentic self. Otherwise, you show up in a way that you don't want to.
Well, and I think that also you could tie that back to the very beginning of this podcast about our anniversary and 25 years together. Well, 25 years married, longer than that together. But I think that you learn a lot over the course of 25 years. And I think what we've also learned is a way to be of service to each other, but also to get what we need in order to keep being of service. We always joke about, you love your alone time in the house. You're a huge fan of being alone in the house, having it all to yourself to do whatever the heck you want to do. And that's not a bad thing. Like, that is the chance to recharge, even if that recharging is doing nothing at all.
Yeah.
But it's a chance to get your energy back. It's a chance to, kind of get rid of whatever tough times have been happening lately, and just, not feel obligated to anybody or anything or any schedule or whatever it might be. So I think that's one way that you've learned to recharge. And I probably need to leave the house more often and for longer periods of time than just a 5-minute ACE run.
I will tell you, though, like, it's essential even if everything's going well.
Yeah.
right? I had great class this morning. I was working on research this afternoon, and I was like, I'm home alone and I'm tired. I'm going to take a little snooze. So Penny joined me for a little snooze, and I woke up recharged and was able to read another book, right? And so, like, you have to build that stuff in. Like, that's essential. So, switching gears again, what hopes and dreams do you have for the next 5 years? 1 year, 5 years for us and our marriage?
Well, I said it earlier, I talked about it earlier, but the transition that we're about to go through, which most people call empty nesting, is, I think, on the horizon. I'm not scared. I'm not sad. I'm hopeful. I think one of the hopes is that we just continue to grow our relationship and figure out what our relationship looks like in this new environment. And I think the reason why I'm not scared is something that you brought up earlier. Like, we've kind of always done that.
Yeah.
We've kind of always put each other first in this family, and not because we believe we're more important, but because we've always believed that in order to be strong parents or strong role models or whatever, that we have to work. Because if we don't work, a lot of other things don't work. And so I think the concept of empty nesting will just be a natural transition. And I don't see bad things.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've talked about it before. There's examples of people who have been hanging around together just for the sake of the kids.
Yeah,
and the
it's
kids
horrible.
leave, they're empty nesters, and all of a sudden the relationship falls apart and they're done. And that breaks my heart.
Yeah. What about 5 years?
Well, I mean, 5 years, if I had to pick, I'd say retired in Italy.
You have a strange sense of time. You are going to be 55 this year.
I know.
5 years puts you at 60. You're going to be working. Our generation's going to be working a lot longer than 60.
Wow.
No?
Way to bring down the mood. Maybe in 5 years, I'll hope that your attitude's changed a little bit about retirement and when I can be done working. Gravy. I don't know. I mean, all joking aside, I'm not sure that I see it any different than what I've already said. Like, I think 5 years from now, I don't know, like, on a super tactical level, like, I hope that we've developed new hobbies. I hope that we're exploring other interesting things, because I think we love to create. We love the process of creating. So, like, what else could we create? And I think we feed really well off of each other in that regard. So who knows, maybe in 5 years, we have a little corner shop that sells books and handmade crafts. And
people can come and write and tell their stories.
Yeah.
And oh, I love that.
Like, I think what I've always hoped for us is that we are able to like, find a maybe more public way for our passions to be seen. I think for you, that's through your writing. You create. I try to create. Like, I just think I'd like to continue to do that as a team.
There's a thing called 826. It's been around for a long time. But the 826 platform it was built as like after school writing workshop spaces for kids. And remember, there used to be one in Seattle, and then it branched off of the 826 community and became its own thing. And then the business next door to it exploded. That was bad. But I think it's back. But the 826 idea is workshops and field trips and after school program for writing. I love it so much. But I also think all of those after school programs should also be for adults. We should get to do after school activities where we get to go and paint, and we get to go and create things and do woodworking and write and tell stories and maybe make dinner together. I just think that would be so amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be really cool.
All right. I love that idea. I also think after I have a lineup of books to get into the world. So One of the Herd, I have the Road Trips book, and then I have the Florence books. But I hope in 5 years that we will have at least a draft of the book we want to write about that first deployment.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. We've talked about that a long time.
Yeah, so we should probably do it.
You probably should.
So the idea is, and you can all like encourage us to do it. The idea is that it's this timeline, 545 days of Tim gone to war and me on the home front, and like a diary almost back and forth of what was happening in both of the spaces, because it's so interesting. So yeah, so that's my goal for 5 years. For 1 year from now, I would like for us to have done that little crazy trip I want to do, where we go to the same place and we're
I love it.
alone together, and then we're together.
Yeah, I love that one.
So that's what I hope for.
Where would you go?
I think we should do London,
Wow.
because we've both been there, but not like extensively.
Yeah, I'm totally down.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We should do it. And not for the ASU football game, a different time.
Yeah. Agreed.
Awesome. What else?
So much to pack into 25 years that we'll have to keep talking about it.
Yeah. What has been when someone asks you, nobody asks these kind of questions except me. Okay. So I'm going to just reword that right here in real time. What's your favorite part of being married?
I think my favorite part of being married is, I'm not sure if I can explain it, but having somebody in your life that you can give pieces of yourself to. And I think what I mean by that is, yes, being authentic, being who you are, but it's almost like you have an opportunity to pass a part of yourself to somebody else. And the other person has the opportunity to do the same. And I think in doing that, you come closer together. And not that you become the same person. That's not what it's about. But it's about being kind of so closely enmeshed that it just creates this really strong bond. I mean, something as simple as, I never used to say interesting until I met you. I always said interesting. And now I say interesting. And it's just natural and it just rolls off the tongue. So that's like, you've given me that little small part of yourself, and so many other things. But like, all joking aside, like that's I think the best part. And I don't, like, you could say that, yeah, that's part of being married, but I think it's just part of having a strong relationship. Like, I don't think it depends on being married or, having a marriage certificate or having rings or, it's, you can find those people outside of a formal marriage, but
Absolutely.
We just happen to have found it in our marriage. I feel like. What about for you?
I just get to let my freak flag fly. I just get to show up as myself on any given random day of like, hey, Tim, I think we should do this. Or Tim, I think I need this. Or Tim, let's do this. And you're like, okay. and it is a genuine, like, you're genuinely excited when I'm excited by things. And I think that's so rad, because I'm like, oh, I'm going to try and work with this medium and try and do this kind of art today. And you're like, sounds good. Do I get to do it too? Right? Like, so it's just, I just get to be my crazy self, and it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel fortunate that we do want to spend time together.
Yeah.
Even after 25 years, we want to spend time together. We always talk about being each other's ride or die. And I think that's kind of a key piece of it. I mean, it doesn't have to be like all Thelma and Louise, but it's, hey, I want to try this really crazy thing. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Or let's do it together. Like, why not?
Okay, so now marriage advice. I have one piece of marriage advice that I'm giving to the world.
You go first then.
Okay, keep your shit to yourself. Like, don't complain about your partner to people who don't get to be in the relationship. I think we learned that early on, or talked about it early on, in that if I go into the world and I complain about you, that's all that person I'm complaining to gets of you. They don't get to see all the other sides. And so then when I'm done complaining and I'm just like, woo, everything's good, they get to hold on to that. And they have that negative impression. And it doesn't mean that you have to do it all by yourself and not have friends. Like, I'm sure I have said some things about you to, say, Kelly, that she can help me process through. but she also has a strong relationship with you. So her relationship with you is not defined by what I say about you. And so she can even push back and say, you're being ridiculous. Like, get over yourself on this one. And it becomes this, like, the four of us, Mark included, we're in a relationship with the four of us. And so that feels safer to do that within. But if I am outside of this couple complaining to somebody else who doesn't have that same relationship with you, it's unfair to the relationship. It's unfair to you, and it's unfair to me, because later when I want to talk about the fun things, that person already has a bias. And I think that what we've done really good is when we are having those hard times, we talk to each other about it.
Yeah.
And that has helped us to grow and either say, ooh, that sounded dumb coming out of my mouth. Like, I'm going to get over it. Or really like growing and learning from each other.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think that's valuable. I think mine is something I said earlier, like, figure out the love, figure out the what does the language look like? What does the other person need in order to feel loved? How do you give love? I think all those things can change.
Yeah.
And they probably do change over the course of the relationship.
For
and I think they have to change over the course of the relationship. Like, the things that you liked to give and receive in terms of love early in the relationship may not be the same things 20 years, 25, 50 down the road. And that has to evolve, and both parties have to be able to evolve that. Like, at this point in my life, here's how I want to receive love, or here's what it looks like to me, because I'm so secure in our relationship. Like, if you don't tell me you love me, I know you love me. And I know you love me because you do X, Y, or Z, small things. And I see the love in that. And hopefully you see the love in the small things. And you know what I mean? Like, it's that evolution, I think, just makes things so much stronger. And when you don't know how the other person wants to receive love, or how prepared you are to give love in the ways that the other person needs, I think that's what leads to the distance and the disconnect. And then you don't have a chance to grow from there.
Yeah. And I think that that's such an important part when you look at other relationships too. If you find yourself like being envious of what somebody else has, you can ask for that thing. Like, I want to be able to go on this trip with my friends, then ask for that. Or I want to have some time to myself, or I would like us to go out to a movie once a week, right? Like, you can ask for those things to continue to evolve the relationship.
Yeah, agreed. It doesn't have to be a secret, and it doesn't have to be something that hope the other person figures out. And I think that's an important thing. It's not just figure out the love. It's have those conversations. Have the conversation about, what does it look like to you? Yes, there's the grand gestures, but what about the everyday moments? Because we can't do the grand gestures every single day. Like, nobody's going to buy you a $5,000 tennis bracelet once a month. Like, it doesn't have to be those things.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. That's my advice.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for hanging out.
Happy anniversary. Happy 25.
Happy anniversary, honey. I love you.
I love you.
Thanks for hanging out.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, oh.